give a fuck.
Are you sure?
I just don't give a fuck.
Presenting The Art of Not Giving a Fuck with Garrett John.
All right, hey everybody, welcome to another very special edition of The Art of NGF. And it's very special because my guest, Paul Crik, is here. Welcome, Paul.
Hey, great to be here. Very excited.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm very excited too. So I first discovered you, Paul, many years ago, around I think 2011. Like I said, when there was a series of videos on YouTube called Killin It, and really love those. And a lot of people that are listening, I think, have enjoyed those videos as well and got a lot out of them. So only recently I saw your Instagram, which is also like a treasure trove, little pieces of awakening and hilarity all mixed together.
Yes.
So I really enjoy it.
Thank you. Yeah. Well, that's, the Killin It began, it was an endeavor I did with a couple friends. And part of, I think the beauty of the videos is is kind of, they are what they are. I mean, that sometimes they have this message, but it's not didactic. It's not put on, it's me experiencing it, and kind of we get to witness that. And so they certainly range from the silly to the sublime and all across the board. But yeah, I know I have a ton of fun making them.
Yeah, they're excellent. And how did that end up coming about? I mean, what happened? What was going on in your life before Killin It? How did that arise?
Yes. Well, this is, I was out in Montana, and with a great friend of mine, Ben Block and Carolyn Peters, and we convened at his cabin in Montana, and just wanted to explore what it is to be killing it. What is that? To take this thing on at its full capacity. And so sort of just dove in. The very first video we did is called Fear. And I'm afraid of water, like deep water. Ironically, I'm a swimmer and have spent most of my life swimming ocean, swimming lakes. But I get the heebie-jeebies when that water is dark, down there. It really, I connect to that subconscious fear. And so all right, well, let's get you going out and walking into a deep frozen lake or chilly lake, and doing what you're afraid of, and just video that and put it together. So that's kind of our approach, is just taking on a reality that is going on in my life and kind of blowing it up and seeing what's there.
Oh, that's very cool. Yeah, I don't know that I ever saw that first one, Fear. Are any of those videos still around?
They're not up right now. They sort of got taken down as we fidget around with how best to sort of have them out there. But they are all in a library somewhere, so they'll be out there eventually.
Ah, fun. Very cool.
Yeah.
And so have you done some workshops or groups or anything around this kind of stuff? Is this what you do for a living?
Yeah, I mean, so I've definitely, do some workshops and seminars and try to, as best I can, it's not espousing killing it, because killing it's like a stand-in the sense that the minute you try to name something, I think you really run into the danger of, trying to either ensnare people that are truly lost. I've seen this with some people, you can make a living off of a flock, getting people who believe in what you say, but only believe in you and really can't function in the world with outside of you, and therefore require consuming a lot of what this shepherd has to say. And that, I think, is really, kind of awful, because it tends to feed on people who perhaps are in the most need of some true light, or some true guiding words, and then helped on their way. So yes, killing it, but as I'm sure is similar with what you do. Always it's about discovering that it in you. What is moving you? How do you listen to it? I'm more of like a demonstration than a guide or anything like that. But it's my vision. It would be that everyone can run around and be like, "I'm Paul Crik." That everyone has their own Paul Crik to be.
I like that, a demonstration more than a guide. That's a cool way to put it.
Mm-hmm.
Something that occurred to me from what before we pressed record, we were talking about all these beautiful nature places, Joshua Tree and Sequoia and Kings Canyon, all places that I highly recommend going to visit. But it occurs to me that one of the reasons that we probably go out there, get out to nature and see big nature in those ways is that, or one of the keys, because then we mentioned you were living in LA. I've lived in LA as well, and lived in and really enjoyed and thrived in different big cities over the years as well, and have a great time there. I didn't always have a great time in cities, so when I was younger, it was a lot harder. But I think that getting out to nature is like step one, but then finding that out there in here. You know what I mean? Finding what it is out there that's inside ourselves.
Boy,
And then you kind of become a beacon of it in the city or wherever you are.
Right, wherever you are. I mean, it's sort of like that old axiom of like, as far as your problems go, like wherever you go, there you are. If you think you're going to get away from your problems, so true. If you find the salve for your soul out in nature, like if you can bring that with you, then it's always there with you. And that, yeah, I think I definitely toyed for a while in life with the idea of like, do I just need to be in nature? Should I be a type of monk or hermit? And I took a little bit of a, I mean, I'm no, scholarly Buddhist, but it took a little bit of like learning about the Bodhisattva way of, that you can be a stone Buddha that sort of sits out in the woods and is just one with nature, but is just part of nature, but aren't really part of humanity anymore. Or you can be somebody who comes back into humanity and tries to sort of operate on both levels of like, okay, I'm part of the human world and therefore the social mask world that we all have to wear. But underneath, I still connect to this other natural world, and I try to walk that balance. And so that's exactly right. I mean, it's, I go out to nature to refuel, to open back up, to connect, all those things. But then it's like, yeah, can I bring it not only back into the city and not just the city? I think sometimes it's like, it's just whatever patterns of my own personal life. I've even lived in small towns, and I sort of get caught in patterns there too, because it's patterns of thought. And so nature breaks them. And then it's like, okay, how then do I find quote unquote nature wherever I'm at, which both can be nature, meaning actually just being outside or connecting with plants for a moment. But I found this is where you can really start to have some joy in seeing everything is nature at its utmost. If I can walk down an urban street and have the same mindset as walking along a creek, that whoever comes up to me is no different than a deer or a bear, and that every flashing noise is no different than a thunderstorm or a sparrow. Like, it's just part of the natural world, and to have that same curiosity and wonder and spontaneity, then it really opens everything up. And I think that is kind of what we all can do.
Yeah, definitely. There's the idea in tracking schools and in nature observation kind of circles of that you never see straight lines in nature. So when you see a straight line, there's something human made or something that's artificial or something that's been placed there.
Yes.
So then I suppose the inverse is true, that you can go ahead and bend your ways of thinking and eliminate the straight line path in even just taking different routes around the city, around this town, or around your own mind even.
And I mean, yes, and both together. And it's so crazy to me how like it can sound so, to me, sometimes trite. Like if I'm in a bad place, and I'll be like, well, why don't you take a different way home? I'm like, shut up. Like, don't give me that BS. Like, I'm dealing with serious life problems. Like, I've got real, like, what the fuck am I doing with myself? I don't have time to worry about another way home. And then, thinking it's superficial. And it's exactly right. It's like, no, break the lines, break yourself back into that winding path, and then your mind follows. And then you're like, oh, now I'm back awake. Now I'm here. Now it's all good. And I know one of the things I love to do in nature is not only get out in it, but get off the trail out in it. That it's not that you can necessarily go 10 miles deep. It can be right around the parking lot, but just wander. Uh, it's nature is such a great place to practice that sort of like, ooh, what's that? Ooh, that's scary. Ouch, that hurts. Ooh, that smells good. Oh, that looks good. And just start to follow your own lead that way. And this is, I mean, I've often thought one of the subconscious dangers of human society, especially Western, where we're so lucky wealth-wise to be able to pave everything and have such fantastic, sewer and electric lines, et cetera.
Yeah.
But everything becomes a grid, where we're just like, okay, I walk this sidewalk to this street, I get in this car, I follow this. So you start to feel so powerless in a way you don't really think of until you get either to a third world country where you're like, oh, it's all a little bit more chaotic, or out in nature. And so that is, I mean, some of the things that I've done, I lived in New York for a while, as well as like having the both ability and bravery, as it crazy as it sounds, to kind of be stupid. To whether it's skipping, or I remember I used to, with sort of like sidewalk, the cracks, the way as a kid you'd jump over them or whatever, to create those little games as an adult on a busy street, and be like, okay, I'm going to try to like sidestep and then jump to this one, and watching people in suits and stuff being like, what is this adult man doing? And then getting home and being like, I'm in a fantastic mood, and seeing like, oh, that's available all the time. And that's exactly what you're talking about, just breaking the lines.
Yeah, totally. And it is available all the time. It's so funny that you mentioned how easy it is getting stuck in some mindset. And even some of the stuff I do, it's like moving the face all slow for 5 full minutes, and so face stretches. And then this other one, like the laughing breath, and you do like 5 breaths going ha, 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 and then 5 breaths of he, and all this. And I remember when I first started doing all that stuff and discovering that work, I was all pissed off and full of anxiety and all this. And then I'm like, oh, I should do that laughing breath now. And I'm like, God damn it. How do I do that? That's ridiculous. And then and then I'm doing it all angry. Ha, ha, ha,
Right. I'm gonna resent it all the way down the line. Ha, ha, ha.
But like the physiology is reacting all the time, and over time it broke those states. I can't be in those states for very long at all anymore. Maybe a minute is as long as anything can hold on a deep level, where I'm not aware somewhat of what's happening and what chemicals are going through me, and what's going on. So it's not necessary that we even avoid all those things. I don't know that it's even possible, but it's like kind of more like enjoying being in the ocean rather than just sitting there fearing one particular wave that happens to be rolling through.
Oh, full chills on that one. Yeah. Like that's exactly it. Because I definitely went through a phase at one point where I was like, oh man, I gotta quit everything. Like anything that smells of either addiction or vice, or I was just like, it was definitely like, I'm gonna try giving it all up. And then you start to be like, wait a minute, like all would actually mean all. At some point I'm like, you'd have to cut out breathing. Because it too is varied every time and sends you on these ways, and just realize like, oh yes, okay, the answer exactly is not just to pull away and sit. It's to recognize like, oh, I am integrated into a very fluid, system, a very fluid plane of existence. I can't get that to stop. If anything, it's like, it's my fixed holds that are making this such an anxious experience. That's actually allowing things to be fluid, and that includes lots of like ups and downs and taking the whole ride. But then oddly, as you adjust to that, the ride is less scary or anxious, even though it's still fully. It's just like, I guess, because you start to understand that like each moment passes. So there's really nothing to fear in any given one, because it's like, well, that's just now. That's just the combination of things in me and around me at the moment, and then whoop, they're gone.
Yeah, and it's totally wonderful. There's one really powerful key that I've sort of stumbled into over the years, is to see life itself as an adventure that's always happening, with every aspect of it. Because And then definition of adventure being that an event or an experience that you don't know what the outcome will be.
Mm-hmm.
So that's like a key part of what adventure is. And I think people are so hung up on reality going the way that they expect it to go, that then that's all they're seeing is this measurement between their expectations and then what's actually happening. But they're not even tuned into what's actually happening, how beautiful that might be. And but if you're on an adventure, if you're climbing a mountain and there's an avalanche, that's not even a problem. You just expected it, and then you climb out and keep on going up. And people don't just go, well, I guess our packs got buried. Let's just turn around and head home, or give up and kill ourselves here. So it's you see
Yes.
life that way. It's like then every moment it's totally fascinating and unknown. I mean, just the amount of
Yes.
detail, even in this living room I'm sitting in right now, it's insane. I mean, every little piece of the wall or the building, the structure, the floor, the colors, the details of things. And it's all like sort of jiggling and moving all the time. And
Yes.
everything
Well,
is just, go ahead.
I was just saying, yeah, your phrase, the tomb of familiarity. I think part of that tomb is when we begin to assume that what we've seen before or expect to see from the day before uh, becomes static in our mind, our mental image. We start to look at the walls like, okay, these are my walls. I know how they look. Like, okay, this is my route to work. I know how that looks. So I'm kind of not paying attention in that way I would if I were on an adventure. Um, and that becomes the tomb. Suddenly we're like, well, I'm going through whole days just kind of being like, I know exactly what's happening. And that just the fact is, it's just not true. Like that is the illusion that any of it is static or that any of it really is like it was the day before. And that to open up to that is really kind of it. I mean, I was fortunate enough to get to I backpacked around the world for a year when I was younger, and had that kind of adventure where you every day truly is like, holy shit, what's gonna happen today? Like, where am I? What's going on? Where am I gonna be by sunset? Uh, and part of my joy in life is coming to see like, oh, you don't have to do that, the act of that, to have that experience. You can wake up in the same house every day and have an adventure equal to waking up in a different country every day. I mean, obviously, the act of travel is great because it really opens us up and gets us comfortable, I think, with facing the unknown, of being willing to walk through a day with like, wow, I really don't know what's going to happen or where I'm going. But then it's like, oh, that's the mindset is the joy. Partly you learn like, oh, right, every human is going to have some meals. They're going to have some emotional highs and lows every day. There's going to be a laugh. There's going to be a cry. There's going to be problems from the outside. There's going to be joys and connections from the outside. Like the human experience is similar wherever you go. So it's not about getting a different life than the one you have. It really is just opening up to the one you already have.
Yeah, that's what's so crazy about it. I think when I was in the seeking sort of mindset for many years, I always thought there was something else or something out there that was going to make me okay. And it wasn't until I finally arrived at that particular thought, and I was like, wait a minute. When did I ever decide that I wasn't okay? Like
Yes.
where did wrongness actually enter into this equation?
Totally. Oh my god, because it's not totally, and it's such because it's like such a natural instinct in a kind of awesome way to think that there's that thing out there. I mean, because there is such wonderful things out there, so to speak. But right, there's a time when it's just the wonderful things for the wonderful things' sake, and then it like tips into like, oh yeah, something's wrong. That's why I need the next thing or the better circumstance or whatever. As opposed to like, no, nothing's wrong. It's just you're alive. So there is going to be another circumstance in an hour, in 2 hours. So you may as well get in on it. You may as well be proactive in creating it, but not because this moment circumstance is flawed in any way. But boy, once that wrong sense, their sense of something wrong, poof, it burrows in there deep. In my experience, it's like it's very hard. You go looking for it, and it's just like, God, I keep going down this crevasse, and I can't quite find the source of this thing. I think one of the things I've experienced is like digging. There's all sorts of ways you can dig, dig in your past and therapy and like, well, did it start in my childhood? Did it start with my grandparents? Like, did it start in my culture? Oh, I know. Was it a life event? Did something go wrong? What track should it be on? And realizing that the search for what's wrong is this never ending splintering hell. It's just like there's always another fork in that. Like, and realizing, oh my God, you can become totally engrossed in that and consumed and get no closer to finding it. Like the act of looking for it is in fact what's wrong.
Exactly, I know.
It's like in the moment you'd stop, the moment like, and we have those, it's like, you're like, oh, wait, no, nothing's wrong. And then boom, your sight changes. Like the moment I have that thought, it's true. My eyes are up as opposed to like, I tend to downcast my eyes when I'm internal, they're up. And so like a hummingbird just landed outside my window. Like, they're
Nice.
up and they're just like seeing it. I've had, some very amazing teachers along the way. And I remember one who just a constant thing would just be where your eyes are in conversation or workshop, whatever. Just be like, oh, eyes. And really seeing how when your eyes would go down, you're going into this internal place. And the practice of like keeping your eyes, especially now with phones where we're just like naturally tipping our head, keeping your eyes above the horizon line, if that's sort of like a plane, it's easier to be present in a way. If you train your eyes like up, just above flat, just above your nose, keep them upward. The brain has a harder time going in. It's only when we sort of go down that we're like, okay, it's almost like there's this safety. I don't have to look around now. I can really ruminate. What was it? Yeah. What's the facial exercise you're talking about? The slow moving one?
Oh, well, just this face stretches thing. I've been doing it every day now for like 15 years, and it's still, well, because of course the face is always changing, but it's so it's different every time, but it sort of has cumulative effects too. I named it a simple twist of face, but
yes,
I
that's
got
like
it from
one of my favorite Dylan songs of all time. I sing that song at least once a week. I mean, that really is my favorite, maybe of his. Yeah.
It is a great song. Yeah. But yeah, the simple twist of face is just, and it's for like 5 minutes. So a lot of people defeat it by going too fast and doing it not for enough time. But all you have to do is breathe and move the face, all the different muscles in the face. So the forehead, eyebrows, eyeballs, eyelids, nostrils, cheeks, lips, nose, tongue, and jaw. So moving everything just really slow and with a lot of intensity, while breathing over about 5 minutes. So I do that every morning, every night. And I used to do it all the time, like before taking a test, before going on a date, before meeting a new person, before going out. And it's, we have the unconscious uses these bodily terms all the time, like language is influenced by the body, like putting a fresh face on something. That's a term, we're getting clarity. So it's like it makes the eyes are brighter. And basically, if you walk into a place and your face is all, you're all angry or you're all sad, it's like teaching other people how to treat you. To stay away from that angry guy, or oh, he's sad. Well, what's going on, Paul? And there's this whole attitude. But if your face is neutral and just no tension being carried in it at all, what I've noticed over time is I end up feeling whatever everybody else is feeling. And I can see what's going on. It was shocking at first. I was like, oh my God. That
It's
guy in the
overwhelming,
corner wants to die. Yeah, it's like, oh shit. I stayed home for like 3 weeks after I realized.
right. You're like, I can't go out there. It's crazy world out there.
Right. But then, I realized you can do so much with the face. Yeah, at the last workshop I had everybody tell a story from their life. It could be just something seemingly mundane. I don't even believe in that word mundane anymore. I think that's it's absurd. But tell a story from their life, and everyone was going around and kind of looking down and averting their eyes. And I was like, come on, guys, like, just really look at each other, move your arms, and like push whatever it is you're feeling through your eyes and into all these other people. And suddenly you watch not just the person telling the story, but when they would do it, everybody else in the room, their eyes lit up too, and they could feel it coming in. And everyone loved the stories and remembered them. And it was like, and these are people, some of them said, oh, I'm not good at telling stories, or I'm not good talking to people. And I'm like, you don't even know what you're good at. What are you, what are you saying? Just try this instead. Try this instead of thinking about telling a story. Just use your eyes, look around.
Right,
I
right.
found that, yeah, go ahead, go ahead.
I would say, yeah, to get out of that idea of like, oh, what is telling a story? And there is such an intrinsic communicative, programming in us as humans. Like, and call it story, call it myth, call it whatever we want, doesn't matter. But like, that's actually the communication we're all kind of longing for. And I empathize with all of us because I think there's times where we see this mode of communication in society that isn't really storytelling. And so people think they're bad because they're like, oh, there's a lot of negotiating going on. There's a lot of masks and hiding what you really want or what you're really feeling, and then trying to negotiate for what you want with people. And I'm actually not good at that. But so I think I'm not good at telling stories, because that's actually why people are telling stories. Like, good people are good at that, are doing that to be charming and win the moment. And it's like, no, no, no. Like, there's this whole other thing going on that's totally natural and invites us all in to connect in that way. Yeah, and I've seen it with I've done a lot of mask work um, in my time, and one of the amazing things, I worked with this amazing Danish mask maker who's now in Bali, and he would create these masks, and really kind of one of a kind in the world. He would make different sets. So he'd obviously have a commedia dell'arte mask and neutral masks, and then he would find, like in one case, he found sort of 8 great opera singers throughout history, so 16th century, 14th century, and find drawings of them and then create a mask from the drawing. Um, and what was amazing about the mask work was, one, that certain masks would in fact always elicit the same behavior no matter who was wearing it. It could be put on like you might put it on an amazing performer and be like, well, of course there'd be, and you could put it on somebody off the street. And we would do 1 or 2 hours of like sort of a Kundalini, physical warm up. I mean, so you're tuning the body to be open. But I mean, if it was like a sort of a lascivious, like guttural commedia mask, like no matter who it was, boom, there they are, like grabbing and growling. And the opera mask, someone would sing, not only sing every time, but they could sing opera. Somebody who couldn't sing, it would just belt out of them. And in the exercises, he would, so you do a lot of warm-ups, and then you put the mask on and be very still and just try to let the mask inform you. And occasionally he had a little handheld mirror. He'd flash the mirror before you, so you'd get a pop of what you look like in the mask. And that would always turn everybody on. You just see the personas come alive. But sometimes he wouldn't use the mask. And I remember talking to him once, like, what the F is going on? Like, no, I don't see that. Like, how is it possible to put a mask on someone? They don't see themselves in the mask, nor have they seen the mask. You sit there with your eyes closed. He pulls it out of a bag without you seeing and puts it on. It's like, I have no visual representation of this mask in my mind. How is it influencing me so consistently? And everybody, like, it's working, but how? And he was like, the mirror is everybody looking at you. You are seeing everybody else watch you. They're seeing your mask and they're feeling about it, because the masks, of course, are a very extreme version of the kind of masks we all have. And that's enough. And so it's exactly what you're talking about. We're all walking around with these countenances that we don't really know, have kind of like been chiseled on our face from the worries or heartbreaks or triumphs or whatever. And they get subconsciously, unconsciously kind of imprinted in our body and face. And then the world reacts to us. And then we think that's both reality and that's us. And it's like, no, not at all. But it's hard to convince somebody of that, because like, that's my experience. Like, this is how everybody treats me. It's like, you don't know what you're presenting to them. Like, so that sounds like an amazing exercise, face exercise.
Yeah, it's that gave me some more insight into it. That story about the mask, that is beautiful. That is just beautiful.
It is. It's and it really goes to show. I mean, I think a couple things. One, that they've done studies on this with animals and humans. Just the different configuration of a face leads to these massively different conclusions about what a person's intention or feeling is. Like, really hardwired to glance at a face and really have a sense of enemy or friend, good or bad, and it is sometimes very physical. Meaning like how your brows are constructed, sometimes in ways that aren't in your control. But more importantly, that these kind of archetypical responses are built into us. This is how we're navigating the world. And so if we're carrying a single mask in the way we carry ourselves, we're not realizing that we're kind of stuck in that. And that kind of, I think the beauty of being human is that we're so fluid. We're kind of maybe the only creature that can really drop and adapt different masks, and therefore totally impact the way the world's treating us. But it's such a deep intuitive level how we're responding to each other that it's so important to try to find a neutral.
Yeah, yeah, totally. And I think a lot of people don't get to any neutral state, maybe almost never. I know the stuff that I'm talking about that I do, that the face stretches and whatnot, part of even a bigger approach where you just end up laying down, breathing, and moving different body parts sort of in sync with the breathing. And it sounds like nothing if I say that to someone. If I say, "Oh yeah, it's just what do you do?" Well, I have people lay down and breathe and move, and they're like, "Oh fuck, what is this?" You know,
Yeah.
and then I'm like, "Well, but when's the last time you actually just laid down for an hour and did some breathing and moved various body parts really specifically?" And the answer is like never.
Right.
That's what's way more strange to me. It's like that's the reality we're dealing with.
Totally. Exactly. Like, and right. And yet I mean, I think your idea that, mundanity is absurd is fantastic. And that's it. We think something like that sounds mundane. So we've never actually done it, and not realizing like it's a fundamental like opening. It's like this amazing transcendent thing. You're like, oh yeah, what is it? You're like, lay on the floor for a little bit.
Yeah.
Wiggle around. You're like, oh, it can't be that. That can't be the big answer. It's like, actually, you haven't tried. And I know I've done I've done a lot of movement, voice, type training and work, and some of that, and then doing it on my own as well. Sometimes for hours, that kind of thing, where I'll follow essentially a tremor. I'll do a little. It's sort of based on Fitzmaurice type voice stuff, but like you put your body in just some sort of position, like if you're on your back, you're letting your knees sort of fall in together, just to the point where you might get just like a slight tremor, as you would if you're holding anything fairly casually. It's not strenuous, and then you kind of just breathe and maybe vocalize that tremor. And what I found is like, essentially, it kind of moves through your body to wherever there is a tension. And that then the vibrating, the vocalization, the breathing really opens it. But that it takes time. It takes hours to like let it cycle all the way through the body and go to these different parts. And that when you're in that experience, it can be, it really feels good. There'll be a point where like, whoa, my left outer elbow is like, I haven't really put any attention there. Again, like maybe ever. Like it's just my left outer elbow. Like who cares? It's not really part of this intention thing. Like I've never woken up and be like, today my left outer elbow is going to go on this big adventure. Like, no, it's just there. And then when you open it up and bring it in on it, we're all in this together body, and I feel that you're tense or bumped around or just haven't had attention, and it kind of turns on, and then your whole body's turning on, and then you're like, oh my God, I'm like, being physical and alive is a little different than I realized. Like it's like kind of like a bigger deal. I'm like, this is, not God-like, meaning personally that I am, but like all of us are like, this is some seriously amazing stuff. Like I am like this light breath beacon that's like floating through this unbelievable plane of material objects, and is free, is not rooted in place. This is magic. If you were to come at it from like most, ways of thinking, it's like, this is truly amazing.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. I recall an experience. One of the first times I ever did this, something like that, laying down and doing that, and I remember reading it in the book at first before I met these teachers and everything, and it was in Wyoming, and it was full of snow outside, like just crazy cold, beautiful mountains everywhere, and then the instruction in the book was like, make the room a little cool, like cooler than normal, and I was like, okay. I opened the window up and turn off the heater and block the the door so the rest of the house doesn't get cold. And that room must have got so cold. It was ridiculous. It was way too cold. You know, I totally misread that. And so I had this insane experience, just like feeling my body like so intense. And I thought for a little while, like, I think I'm having a heart attack. I must be dying. This is what's happening. And then after a while, I realized, no, this isn't painful or anything. And then I was like, oh, this is what it is to actually be alive. This is fucking electric. And I looked down at my toes. I was like, those are so far away. I can move them.
I've got control over those things. What are those? Those are amazing. Wait, they can move me? They'll move me across the room like I have, volition. Whoa. But that's right. I've been lately doing some like cold bath stuff, like hot, cold, and like, I'll really sit in a cold bath for, a good 5 to 6 minutes. And really, sometimes past that point of like, if I stay in too much longer, like I'm shaking so badly, or then the shake stops, like I'm not even sure I can move. Like I hope someone sees me and pulls me out. But that's the same. I'll get that feeling sometime where I'll be in there for 5 minutes, and I do a breathing exercise. I'm just sort of like relaxed, eyes closed, just like breathing sort of 30 seconds in, 30 seconds out, and kind of doing that despite what the body's going through. And then there'll be this point where I'll be like, oh God, I quit on the breathing, just like, geez, I'm so cold. And then I'll take this deep breath and I'll be like, whoa, that breath was deeper than any intention breath I've had. Like that was a breath of like, oh God. And I can feel it at the base of my spine will suddenly get all tingly and then it sort of shoots out and I'm like, oh my God, I'm alive, like all of me. And it sort of feels like my limbs have been sleepwalking a bit, through the day. And now suddenly they're back with me, which I think, cold is definitely a way. And I know the Wolf Hom, I think is, does that kind of
Wim
stuff.
Hof guy.
Wim Hof. Yeah. Wolf Hom, that's another person. Wolf Hom, Wolf Hom. But I've, a lot of the Killin It stuff is finding variations of that can be, just sort of much more immediate, which is, jumping off a post, jumping in a creek, lying in the dirt. It's the cold is, yes, definitely one very strong one, but there's something about breaking any sort of routine of the mind, we're just like, well, I don't really lie in dirt because why would I lie in dirt? That's weird. There's no real point to lie in dirt. So I'd never do it. And then if you're like, all right, well, I'm going to get down and I'm going to roll around in the dirt, just that. And then because you're breaking some sort of neurological barrier that presumes what the world is and what's happening, it can be really electrifying, even though it's this kind of silly, stupid thing. And that's a lot of what I know I've enjoyed exploring that I felt like was part of my own life anyway, or, my own joys you take of childhood as a relative, not just silliness, but adventure. They kind of go together. That being bold and brave and being a little stupid are, a little similar at some spots. And so almost having to force oneself into that as you're an adult. So be like, okay, well, I don't know, this may be stupid, but let's do it. And that stuff's available all the time. It can be, you could lie on your kitchen counter, and take your pasta off the plate, and while you're lying on your back, move it over your mouth and drop it into your mouth, and just I've never eaten that way. I've never lain on my kitchen counter and fed myself, and boom, suddenly today just feels so different than any other day.
Yeah, I know. It's like the tools we're surrounded by it. It's not even, I guess it's nothing outside of ourselves. It's everything. Yeah. There's a friend of mine. I'm gonna send you this a PDF of this book after we get off here, but it's called the Just Because Club. And he's got a bunch of these exercises in there, like sit under the kitchen table for 2 hours.
Yeah.
And you start discovering yourself and all these other things about the space, or sit in the bathtub with your clothes on with no water for 2 hours.
Yes. Yeah. And what I love about that stuff is exactly, the invitation of like, not like, okay, you have to go to this special place or you have to go to this sanctuary, or where you have to do these scripted things that somebody else 1,000 years ago or somewhere else in the world has said. It's very much in your world, which I think is a real great invitation too, to be like, actually, you're the only one who's ever going to truly know what under your table is. Like, that's not
Yeah.
an experience available to anyone else in the world. Like, 8 billion people, none of them have that perspective of what the world looks like for 2 hours under your table. So it's empowering in this weird way too, because you're like, oh, right, like my world is so unique. And not that it's about like ego unique of like, I'm better, because obviously everyone has theirs, but that it keeps you from feeling that it's mundane or just like, oh, whatever. It's like, this is such a particular world that you occupy, to explore it and discover it in that way. And that, sitting for a couple hours too, I know I sort of like your facial exercise. I do like a lot of slow motion stuff, that was I got from this Russian movement um, teacher. Uh, I mean, just moving in slow motion a lot, very much from your center was the art of the work. Uh, but I mean, just like dare yourself one morning to be like, I'm going to make my coffee in slow motion. And I mean like slow, you know, uh, and try to keep a steady pace, and your 5-minute ritual suddenly becomes half an hour. But my God, if every little thing, it doesn't just sort of kaleidoscope open and what looked like just like, all right, throw the water on, put the filtered coffee, let's do this, so rote, you're forced to, in the slow motion, look at the grains of the filter and the differentiation in color. And then you're forced to look at how the grounds take the water and then the smell of it and the sight of it. And you're aware of your mind wandering or not wandering. And again, it brings you into the moment in those ways. Where then for the rest of your day, you're like, whoa, I'm going to kind of, even as I go back to normal speed, try to keep that awareness.
Yeah, it's something precious. It occurs to me that people are kind of unaware, but you brought it up in a certain way, that each of us is actually a pioneer on this
Mm.
super unique, particular journey. Like there's no one else who's ever been there in this body at this moment under these circumstances.
That's exactly right. Right. And I do, I've been fascinated by, what's the underlying of it all. I mean, I think anyone who's in any part of this area of thinking and wondering, that's for time eternal, what we've all pondered. And in that way, I think that's right. I mean, that whatever has moved life to be created in the first place and to create itself so diversely, uh, that must be what it's doing, is exploring newness, or novelty, as Terence McKenna would say. And like, that would make each one of us at the forefront. Each one of us is this pioneer. Like, this world through this lens has absolutely never been seen before. And each day that's true. And if you see yourself that way, it's just like, whoa. I mean, that is every kid's dream before you. I mean, I think the dream that's underneath, like, when you ask a kid, like, what do you want to be? And it's like an occupation or a position or a station in society or whatever. It's like the real dream below that is like, what they're imagining is being a pioneer or explorer. And they think those positions are the kind that look like that. Well, they look like they're doing something. They're the adventurer, they're the do-gooder, whatever it is. But the deep wish is, I think, just to be on the edge of newness like that all the time. And we are.
Yeah, that's the actual truth of the situation. And,
Yeah. And it's
guess,
fun.
Go ahead.
Oh, no, you go. Yeah.
Oh, I'm just saying it's almost terrifying, I think, to people. Like we said before, that it's sunken into an addiction to the familiar, and they get walled off from that sense of absolute newness that's going on all the time.
Yes, exactly. And it's such a like a hard truth to. I mean, you can't swallow a truth because it's like, that's making it sound like it's coming from the outside. Like, it's already there. The truth's there. But it seems like a big one to take on because it requires a letting go of so many other things we think are true. To really embrace that, it's like, oh, you got to drop any notion of what you think you are or how you think things work. Um, which is something that I think is constantly recreating ourselves or recreating it in ourselves. Like that's one thing I found is like, I can have my moments, being the pioneer, and then sometimes without necessarily realizing it, some stuff starts to calcify and creep on a little bit, and it's like you got to shake it again. That's why these daily rituals are so important. It's like it's not enough just to have the intellectual epiphany, uh, and see it. Like that's good, but then it's like the process of living keeps going, and you got to have ways to keep opening yourself back up.
Yeah, totally. One of my favorite movies as a kid, or series of movies, was the Indiana Jones ones.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought that captured it, especially from through the eyes of a kid. But every now and then he's back teaching at the university, and it's kind of drab and boring. And then before you know it, right back out there into some insane adventure.
Yes. Yeah, I think I watched Raiders of the Lost Ark again somewhat recently because for me that was certainly as a kid that was like let's just hit it, that whatever that call is, that pure adventure for that time frame and cultural reference points, like that was the one that just like totally like that's it, that's what it looks like, that's what it feels like. So nice, and it's great to and I mean that's the other thing I find is like I think too of all the things that either I or other people and all of us create for each other. That it's a much less lonely world when you see all the things that everyone throughout time has left as either guideposts or invitations or reminders, and looking at stuff that way, I just find it's like, I feel very wealthy when it's like, oh, there's all these songs and movies and paintings from like ever. And each one is like an invitation to be reminded of like, what it's like to be alive, what it's like to be adventuresome, what it feels like to be on the edge of this oscillating experience that's constantly like back forth, black, white, good, bad, and going through it.
Yeah, and it reminds me of the song. There's a Van Morrison song that Bill Murray, of all people, covered recently called when, yeah, you gotta look it up. Called When Will I Ever Learn to Live in God is the name of the song. What a name. And he's just saying a lot of the verses and the lyrics are like you can see it down through the history of time and the shape of the cathedrals and in the great writings and paintings. Everything was made in God is like this refrain. And just absolutely gorgeous song. Hearing Bill Murray do it is exceptional with a great cellist and pianist.
Oh my God, I got super chills on that one. I mean, I happen to be in like a Van Morrison stage in my life. Like I'd known about him, grew up with the kind of his pop versions, and then some point it was around people that were into that sort of 70s, 80s, so I'd get a little more. And then about 2 years ago, I was, had gone through some personal like breakups and moves and stuff where you kind of find yourself, I don't want to say hollowed out in a bad way, but like emptied out of a lot of like stuff that had been happening. And I really remember it sitting there one day and I was like, I guess I could listen to whatever I want. Like I'm not with my friends, I'm not with a companion. I'm not even kind of in my old mindsets where I'd be like, I'm going to throw on the old Bob Dylan, whatever usually would like tip me off, or John Prine or whatever. I was like, and just being like, I don't know what I want to listen to. And then a little voice, wherever those voices come from, was like, Van Morrison. I was like, Van Morrison? Like, yeah, I guess so. And then, it's been a constant for like 2 years. I mean, I'm like, to me, Van Morrison, I'm like, oh my God, that guy's a prophet. Like, he's not just singing or making music. Like, he is trying to tell us what the hell is going on. Like, and he's doing well at it. Yeah, I think he's amazing.
Yeah, it's outstanding. I'd never even heard of that song until I heard the Bill Murray one. But a lot of his stuff is really cosmic and present and beautiful.
Yeah, well, and I've done a lot of improvising and kind of stuff in my day, and like one of the things I noticed with his songs is like that there's a riff quality in how he'll he's constructed some sort of obviously orchestration. There's the song, and then there's a little bit of a verse and melody and chorus. But then a lot of the stuff that I love of his that can be these 8-10 minute songs is just kind of like once he's set that up, he's kind of going and just playing with the chorus. And what I feel when I listen to it is oh, it's not just what he's saying, like he's demonstrating. Like I'm hearing somebody following it. Like this is not like, okay, this is all mapped out the day before, on the 18th bar, you're going to go here and here, and then we're going to cut here. This is a guy who's like, all right, do we have the whole slide built? Like we know where everything's coming in. We're going to kind of keep this. And when there is a change, it'll kind of go like this. And then he's off. And so we're hearing this authenticity. And I just, when I find him repeating the chorus in all these different ways, it's like he's exploring the different facets of a diamond. Like I'm just astonished, like how many different ways he can make a single line sound and like what it resonates in me. Where it's just like, it's literally like he's just totally exploring this one sentiment and laying it out.
Yeah. I totally get that. That's a beautiful thing when musicians are doing that. Some of my very favorites. One of them is called Bonnie Prince Billy, and every time you've heard of him.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So anytime I see him live, sometimes he'll do all the songs and they're nothing like they were on the album. He's like, tonight this one's going to be like some 80s background music, and then totally different. And then some interviews he said that he'll get a different point of view. Like, what would it be like if a farmer who just lost his wife was singing this song, and suddenly that's what he's doing that night, like totally different point of view on the way every word in the lyrics sounds and everything. It's so cool.
So cool, right? And that's a mask. And again, like, and not that it has to be, but as a way of looking at it, like, yeah, it's like, right, this whole other persona can have this same story to tell, but it's going to be different. And yet the story is still the same. And like hearing that, I've done some deep dives on Bob Dylan as well. And like, that's, his ability to do that is like almost unbelievable as well. We're just like, wait, he's just playing the same song, but it's totally different. And I think when you see people like that, I mean, aside from just like getting benefit from their great artistry, is they're showing you that it's not something fixed. You're like, you're these like incredibly talented craftsmen, like they can make these amazing things and could totally just ride them. And their instinct is like, hell no, I'm not just going to ride that same thing. Like that was a year ago. That was a Thursday, July 20th, that song was that. Like, not some fixed thing in the universe. It's always new. It's like, well, wow, if you can be at that level and feel that way, then that must be the way it is.
Right. Yeah, totally. And I think it does circle back around to what we've been talking about, is that each day, each moment for us, it can be that as well, to really take the chance to live it in a new way, to be present, to show up and actually see what's there in the space. And like, I was thinking of 2 of your videos on Instagram. The one with I don't know why these ones stuck to me, because I probably watched like 20 of them when I found the account that day. And, but like the peanut butter and jelly. How do you eat peanut butter and jelly?
Yes, totally. I remember I can't remember, it's on there once, but one day I was going to scramble my eggs, and just that whim of like, man, it'd be so fun to just throw an egg in the air and not have to worry about whether it's going to break. And so it's like, oh yeah, what if I just toss the egg, and I have vaulted ceilings where I'm at now, as high as I can, and then just use the pan to catch it, because of course it shatters. And then just like, oh, then I can just pick the shells out. So it's like, this is another way to crack an egg. But like, whoa, what a day it was after that. When you start your day with like, first I'm going to like throw my eggs as high as I can, smash them, pick out the shells, scramble those at my first, and then you're like, oh yeah, everything is like that. And again, it's a little the silly, the impulse or the instinct for a lot of this stuff is not quote unquote serious. That the pioneer thing, it's play. Part of it is like, even though I think part of what sets in for all of this is like a sense that the stakes are so high, like, okay, this is my life, and oh God, it could end at any moment, and it's so short. And the more time I have, the more I recognize how short it is, because possibilities of all the things seem limited. And have I done the best with it? And did I get to do the things I set out to do? Am I being true to myself? It's all very laden and heavy, when you ask yourself those questions, because like, oh shit, this is it. If I screw this up, there's no, rewind, there's no reset. And yet I think that's sort of like thinking what's wrong. Like that whole mindset is the trap. That the invitation of life, uh, as short as precious it is play. Um, it's like, no, it's not to get it right. It's not to accomplish anything. It's to continually be in that moment of play, exploring it just for the sake of exploring it. And then that takes a lot of that pressure off. You're like, oh yeah, you can't really fuck up exploring. You can just explore, like, yeah.
Right. Yeah. There's no way to mess up exploring. That's the whole point. Yeah.
Yeah. Especially like sometimes I imagine like, I mean, I think I've listened to a lot of Alan Watts, and he translates some Hindu Taoist stuff, and what I take from that, is this idea of like, well, if there is a Godhead that sort of wants to see itself, the only way it can see itself, experience the material world, is to take a form. So we're all that. So I like that idea that, it doesn't really matter whether you believe in a Godhead or whatever figure or entity is behind it, but the idea that just being is truly for the sake of being. That like, no, the whole manifestation of you is so that you get to be, here. Like that's it.
Right.
That's the task. That's the ask. Which, and then I found that it can include, and this I think helped me along the way, that can include the darkness, that even those times you're like, oh God, now I'm doing it. I'm thinking about what's wrong. And I know that's wrong. So now I'm going to spiral down because I'm thinking the wrong thoughts about things. And to even accept like, oh, this is part of the exploration too. Like this is another, sparrow or hummingbird. Like what's it? I'm going to now explore like what it is to really like think about what's wrong. But when I take that attitude versus actually like trying to ruminate on what's wrong, but really be like, what is this experience of like dwelling on the negative? Even that starts to feel lighter when it's just like, oh, actually that was kind of rich, has a lot of colors. It too is very fluid with lots of ups and downs, and kind of amazing to watch the mind. Like we are all so incredibly creative, and unfortunately you can really see it when you try to get down on yourself. Like, when it comes to feeling bad about yourself, like we're incredibly gifted storytellers. Like we're just like, oh, I got a million ideas. And yet you're like, oh, that's all that is. That's just make them ups.
Right. Yeah. There's when I had certain clients way back when I got started with all this weirdness, someone would be, they got broken up with, or just having a hard time, or somebody died, or whatever it was. And I remember just saying, I let myself just say stuff, even to the point where I was kind of like, oh shit, I don't know if I'm supposed to say that. But I would say something like, you should really hold on to that feeling, because I don't know when you're going to be able to experience that again. And then I'm like, oh man, I don't know if this is all right. They're suddenly like, whoa, they just are feeling it completely and okay at the same time.
Yes. Well, and I think, and I love it because it is funny. Like I've done that where you say stuff like, oh God, I hope I didn't just say the exact bad thing to say. Like, hold on tight to your grief. Like that doesn't sound right. But I think what it becomes is, I found like, it's like a permission slip. What really is being said in that moment is like, what you're experiencing right now, experience it. As opposed to like, how do I get out of this? Like, I'm in the grips of this horrible feeling. If it's something, like a death or something like that, where you're just like, God, it's so bad. Of course I want to get out of it. And to be invited to be like, oh no, do the opposite. Get into it, let it take hold. Like, who knows if it'll last. Like, this is your one time to go into this and see it. Like, it relaxes the body, but then you're not fighting the experience. And that I think is if there is a one thing, the kind of the one thing is the resistance, the anxiety to it. Like it's not necessarily whether things are good or bad. It's how resistant you are to them where they're at, that gets us all fucked up.
Yeah. Because if you get to be thinking about thinking and feeling about what you're feeling, it's like everything's abstracted into this madness.
Yes,
kind of spirals outward.
Yeah, because you're starting to play that game of, again, sort of the watcher or the eye that you're separating. You're like, oh, there's a thing experiencing. It's like, no, there's just an experience. There's just a feeling. There's just a thought. You just happen to be aware of it. Yeah, there's no separation needed. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right on.
Yeah.
Whoa,
Very
well,
cool, man.
yeah, awesome. Thank you so much for having me on. I'm gonna today, my day is I'm headed down. We have an oddly hot day here, so I am headed down to the tidal pools along the coast where I will sit with the sea urchins. I find these little tidal pools and sit in them.
Oh, it sounds like fun, man. What a blast. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'd be happy. We should do this again, and I'll be in touch. I'm going to send you a few things that came to mind while we were doing this. This is a great time. I really enjoy connecting with you. It feels like meeting an old friend or something. This is
Doesn't it? It does. So funny. You're like, do this again. I'm like, wait, don't we do this all the time? Wait, oh God, no,
Yeah,
that's right.
exactly. Yeah, no, but we will, and I think we could put on something really special. Like just, I like to do these full immersion, rent a big farm, have everybody come out there, have good food, and stay all together for like a week or two, and then just do kind of the stuff we've been talking about, all the weirdness, and really just dive into that, be out in nature, be inside in nature, whatever it is. And
Yeah, be inside
yeah,
nature
man.
like that. Yeah, totally. No, and yeah, and the food too. I mean, that's something I'm learning too. Of like, obviously, what goes in is what you experience. So super important to be eating good food and taking in good breaths. Yes. Oh, well, yeah. Please be in touch and send me stuff, and I'll obviously talk to you soon.
Awesome. Yeah, that's great, man. So yeah, and if you ever want to come out and visit in Croatia, you're more than welcome. And I'll be in touch.
Okay, sounds good, and I will.
All right, very cool. I hope you have a wonderful day, and thank you again for coming on to the show. We'll talk to you again soon.
My pleasure. Thanks. Bye bye.
Cheers, man.